I'm Lee at Iridium, and I've got with me today, well, they're back, Mark Cloer and Darren O'Sullivan of Sleeve Saturday. How you doing, guys?
Hey, man.
Hi, guys. Yeah, me and Mark are back on for the first time since Mark took the piss out of one of my videos. But we're Mark at this point, after doing 8, 9, 10 videos, is like a brother to me, so I can forgive him.
Yeah, and take my missus's top off as well, Darren, while you're at it. Right, that's a good start, isn't it, eh?
Oh, it's on as usual. Here we go.
Right, okay. Sorry about that, mate. But of course, I mentioned.
Don't ever apologise to me. You keep the slaggings coming. I'm Irish. I want it, so I can give it.
Just to make up for it, I'm going to put a link to Sleeve Saturday, which is Darren's channel, and it's an absolutely brilliant channel which talks about all the music that we all love, all the stuff from back in the 80s up through to now, really no sort of limitations, but does some great videos on there. So if you like a lot of the music you like on here, check out Sleeve Saturday, and I'll leave the link below. All right.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
Have I made up for it? Thank you very much.
We're friends again.
Yeah, good. Anyway, so we're going to talk about, and this is something that we've sort of spoken about before, interested in doing, but never really got around to it. Great album covers. So there's going to be some bad ones mentioned from myself. I don't know about you guys as well, but good ones and maybe a few mentions for bad ones. So we've always said, haven't we, how important, especially when we was growing up, album covers are, and becoming more important as vinyl becomes more popular again.
Yeah.
And man, the memories I get from, especially like I think Mark mentioned earlier on, opening up a double album, you know, reading the lyrics and the artwork and all the stuff on the back, all the honourable mentions to people that have been involved in the record. Absolutely.
The smell of it.
Oh, man. And going in and buying an album just purely for the cover, or even looking at the covers, you know, just an amazing time. I remember, you know, looking at that artwork. So I think it's definitely it's a big part of rock music. You know, so it's definitely worth a show or two. Definitely.
Mark, do you think, even maybe before we get into our covers, do you think there's even a better sound off of vinyl? You know, you get that crackle, you get that, you know, it's just more authentic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not as sonically as clear, but there's something about, like, yeah, what you just said about that crackle. I mean, that takes me back to my childhood. Especially, you know, after the albums got a little bit of wear on them, they'd have a little bit more texture to them, I guess. Anyway, yeah, there's definitely something about vinyl that it just sounds different. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, actually, guys. I don't know the answer to it. I've been meaning to ask you two. Do they make it differently now, so it's harder to scratch a record? Is it made differently now?
I don't know. I hadn't bought an album in 40 years.
I still do buy them, but I don't know how they're pressed these days, Lee. I'm not too sure in terms of how they're pressed actually in factory, but I have a mix here of my collection, and some are dusty ones from the attic from my dad's collection, and some are brand new ones that I buy. I can't really see much of a difference, of being totally honest with you, other than the dusty smell from my dad's records. But in terms of how they're pressed, I don't think it's much different.
Because that would be the only thing that would put me off getting a vinyl now, would be the chances of it scratching, and that would piss you off, wouldn't it? Now, I mean, when you was younger, it was like, all right, it jumps, and you got used to the jump. In the end, it was like you thought the record was like that. It became the record. But now,
yeah,
I don't know so much. It wind me right up, I think. Anyway, so we're going to talk about our favourite album covers. We don't know each other's lists, so we may actually pop on. We might actually, you know, have the same ones here. Not really sure.
Yeah, we might do.
But we're going to go round the houses as usual. So I don't care who goes first. I don't even mind if I go
ahead, Mark.
First. So,
or Lee, you go. You guys decide. Go. I don't care.
You start us off, Lee.
Okay. So like I said, I'm going to go very different. I'm going to try and mix up with some new ones, old ones, more obvious ones, more so not so obvious ones, I suppose. The first one I'm going for is Dio Last in Line. So 1984. The colours on this, man, like all the oranges and browns going on. This was, even though a load of people would probably pick Holy Diver as their favourite, I don't know. There was something about that Last in Line one it was very sort of misty, if you like. The figures at the bottom were sort of like, you know, you couldn't tell what they were. Just the whole thing with, I think what was his name, the mascot for Dio? Something Murray, wasn't it? Murray or something like that. Yeah. That big Murray like there with his the old horns, and all the people queuing up in the line. Just like one of them ones, man, where you just like a lovely painted cover. You know what I mean? It's just, now you get a computerized one sometimes. Now they don't look painted. This was a proper painted cover. Yeah. What an amazing one, man. That's my start off. Dio Last in Line.
Good stuff. Mark?
Yeah.
Well, since he brought up Dio, I'll stay with that theme. I'm gonna pick Killing the Dragon.
Oh yeah.
One of the later albums. It's got this beautifully depicted dragon spewing fire toward the sky, and all the villagers are around him. They've got ropes tethering him to the ground. You know, again, the title is Killing the Dragon. Just a very eye-catching drawing. I didn't know until recently, actually, when I was kind of getting my list together, they reissued this album a couple of years ago with new artwork.
Ah.
And I had never seen the artwork for the new one. And it's got Murray, the demon or whatever Dio's mascot was, standing over a dragon that he had killed with this big sword with blood on the sword. Very, very cool. I'd never seen that one until just a couple of days ago. So there's two different covers.
Nice.
Both of them are very, very cool.
Was that pulled for a reason? Because I remember doing the Guns N' Roses review myself, and they had for Appetite of Destruction, they'd had an original album cover which was controversial, so they changed it to the Celtic cross and skulls. Was that pulled for any reason, or was it just?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't even know they had come up with a new cover for it. I don't see anything controversial about it. I guess maybe, like Lee and I were talking about earlier, bands have a tendency to keep reissuing albums to get the buyers to buy the same album over.
Yeah, it's a bit of a selling point, I suppose, isn't it? New artwork. New artwork's a selling point as well, I suppose, isn't it? If it's good.
Agreed. Repackaged, repurposed, bring it out in the, it's almost like, people collecting stamps or playing cards or whatever, you kind of get the new album with the new cover to have in your collection kind of thing.
Right.
Great choice though, man. I love that cover. I haven't seen the other one either, so I'm going to check that out.
You might want to put them both up if you superimpose them. Yeah.
We'll do, mate. Excellent. Okay. Darren.
Okay. I'm going back to 1971. I'm going with the Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers. And I'm going with this one for a couple of reasons, right? So it's the first time I've worn a t-shirt underneath your wife's blouse. I wore my Rolling Stones top, but it's the first one to have that. So Stones are gone since the early 60s, now 1971. First one to go with that mouth and lips logo, which is at this point almost like Coca-Cola, isn't it? It's just such an iconic iconic logo. It was designed, I was looking a bit into the history of it, which I've never really done. I love the Stones, but I had a bit of a look into history. It was designed by a college student called John Pash in 1970, and he was commissioned by Jagger himself to do it. So it was modeled this was modeled on a Hindu goddess called, I have it here, Kali. But he kind of remodeled it a little bit, so the lips are a bit, Jagger has big lips, so it's kind of it's modeled a little bit off him. But this symbol is on the inside cover, but the album cover itself has like a crotch in tight jeans, right? Now I only like looking at my girlfriend's crotch in tight jeans, right? But you have to give it to this. It was designed by Andy Warhol. And it had an actual, on the original pressings of it, it had an actual zip on the front of it that you could pull down and reveal the boxer briefs underneath, right? Now they stopped that because people were complaining that the zip was tearing the cardboard or whatever. But that's so cool. Just have a zip on the front
yeah.
of it, an actual zip on the front of it, and it just, you know, 1971. It's the height of all this kind of stuff. So I picked that one because I thought it has the iconic logo and it has that cool zip on it. And I just thought it's a really cool little novelty on an album.
I'm really glad you chose that one, actually, or something like that, because when we're choosing these best album covers, this ain't just about how good the artwork is either. It could be a photo, it could be anything. It's just what resonates with us, isn't it? You know,
I thought that was, agreed, and I thought that was quite a cool little gimmick on it.
Yeah,
that, you know, with the zip. So yeah,
I got Motley Crue near enough copied that cover, I believe, on their debut album. Too Fast for Love was it on there? They near enough copied it. They got
the jeans crotch, is it?
Yeah, near enough.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. But excellent choice there, though, mate. Okay, I'm next, aren't I?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, I'm going for a new one. Like I said, I'm going to try and mix it up a bit with a new one now. So this is an album I've actually reviewed last week, and it's Witherfall. So it's their new album called Curse of Autumn. So it's just come out last week. And this is beautiful, man. I mean, all their covers, they've had 3 albums out, I believe, very similar sort of in style. And it's just how it's, when you think of Curse of Autumn, the colours of autumn, it's just like that all across the cover. Beautiful picture of like a woman, sort of, and it looks windy. It looks like it's really windy, and like a painted cover, loads of different like browns, the details in it. It's very moody cover. I mean, it just brings that sense of autumn straight away. They depicted it just brilliantly. You know, I could have chosen any of their 3 covers because they're all just as good as each other. But because it's a new album, oh man, it's absolutely great. What a brilliant cover. There you go.
How many albums are they in?
I think they've only had 3.
Is this a consistency with them? Good artwork.
Yeah, and it's very similar style. I think one of them was a bit bluey, but it was all the blues, and it was like, man, they've got some beautiful, you know, an excellent artist who does their covers. I'm not sure who it is, but it gives that feeling of autumn just looking at it. It's just brilliant. Yeah. Cool. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, there you go. That's my number 2. Who's next?
I guess I'm going to go. I had a hard time deciding which album, but I'm going to go with Black Sabbath Live Evil. I've mentioned before that was the first Sabbath album I bought, and I bought it because of the album cover. I remember standing in the record store, just holding that full-size LP, just staring at the figures on that album. Every song on that live album is represented by a character on that album cover. I don't know if you're familiar with the cover, Darren, but it's basically a scene. It looks like it's on a beach at night, midnight, I guess. And there's characters all in the drawing, and each character represents a song that is on that live album.
Cool.
And it just, even today, when I look at it, it just takes me to another place.
How does a character represent a song on the album?
You got Iron Man. Iron Man's one of them, isn't it?
You got Iron Man. You got Children of the Sea. You got 3 kids actually in a coffin that are being beached. That's right. Children of the Sea. Neon Knights. There's a black knight there holding a sword that's illuminated. Just every song on it is represented by a drawing on that album cover.
I really like that concept. I love that idea.
It's a great cover, man. It's a really brilliant cover, yeah.
For a 14-year-old kid, or however old I was when I bought the album, I mean, it was just, like I said, it just takes you to another place.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah. It's great. Okay, I'm going to go with go to 1976, 5 years later after my first choice, and I'm going Kiss, and I'm going with the album Destroyer. Oh yeah.
Kiss have quite a lot of cool. Kiss are a visual band, aren't they? Let's face it. They're visual on stage. Their pyrotechnics are visual, and their artwork is quite visual. I love Creatures of the Night and them down. But I went with Destroyer because it's Kiss in their iconic outfits, their iconic face paints. They're all standing in various Kiss poses. You got Genie, all this kind of stuff. Mark, can you tell me, because I stared at the album today, I know the album cover well, are they on the side of a volcano? or what are they standing on the Destroyer album cover? Or do you know it off the top of your head?
If I had it in front of me, I could probably tell you, but I don't.
Right. We'll have a look later. It looks like Lee, they're standing on the edge of a volcano. You've got the smoke and the clouds and stuff behind them. And you've been saying a little bit.
In my mind, I'm thinking about that they're standing over a city that has been destroyed, or seems like there was buildings.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what they're standing on. They might be standing on bricks. It looked like the edge of a volcano to me, but yeah. It's funny, you can sometimes even with music, not only the music lead, but it's up to interpretation, even what the album cover is, even when it's in front of you. You said a couple of times on your couple of choices there, Lee, about colours. This one has reds and yellows and oranges and blues and purples. Like it's got it all, you know. So quite a cool cover. Kiss Destroyer 76.
It's funny, the two you've chosen so far, that one was almost copied as well. It shows you how good them covers were. Manowar. I don't know if you remember that one, Mark. Manowar done.
I remember the band. I never got into them, so I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. Only a few songs, but they near enough had the same cover. Them four guys painted just in them sort of. It's near enough exactly the same. So
cool.
Okay.
What you got?
It's me, isn't it?
It is.
I think Mark will appreciate this one. I think we might have spoken about this one. Rat, Invasion of Your Privacy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good choice.
Yeah,
I know it.
So, oh man, I don't mean to be rude, but I wanted to bang this bird when I was younger. I'll tell you, like sitting on the edge of that bed, putting her socks up on that. Oh, man, so, I mean, apart from that, it's a great cover, like the way it looked, the colours in it. But she was just, I think she was a Playboy model or something.
She was, yeah. Marianne.
What year was that?
That was 1985.
Yeah,
I mean, it ain't about the music either, but that was my favourite album from Rat. But I know it's not about the music, but that cover, man. I mean, they had some gorgeous women on their covers anyway.
Well, it's the era, you know. My next video, I'm doing a video on Poison, so I've been steeped in Poison the last few days, and it's that era, you know. It's the drugs, it's the women, it's the, you know, it's that kind of look, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to mention though, because what I'm going to try and do is, if I've got a bad one for the band, I'll mention that. So I've got a bad one for Rat as well, and that's Reach for the Sky, which was hold on, I think it was late 80s. I don't understand it at all. It's fucked up. It's really weird. It's like there's a wicker chair in it. There's a woman with weird glasses, and there's a hand coming from somewhere, reaching for the sky, I suppose. But it's like bits of shit.
I can't picture that one.
Oh, it's crap. It's terrible. That's my bad one from Rat, but Invasion of Your Privacy is my good one. There you go.
Cool. Good choice.
Okay.
That one inspired at least a million teenage wet dreams.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there were some women back then. I mean, if you actually think of the 80s, some of the women, who they thought was gorgeous back then, weren't so gorgeous. If you see photos of women who you thought was gorgeous, but she was, even now, you know. Oh.
Yeah, her name was Marianne Gravette.
Oh, see, we know who the perverts are now, didn't we, eh?
I'm just pretending I don't know her name.
She was a Playboy playmate. I don't remember. I want to say she was Playmate of the Year. I can't swear to that, but yeah. There are pictures of her out there if you choose to look them up.
All right, okay, not that I will.
Careful, Mark. His wife's listening.
Lucky she doesn't watch any of my videos, isn't it? There you go. Okay. Right.
What you got, Mark?
Well, since he started this, I'm going to continue. Another one that inspired 1,000 wet dreams, Whitesnake Love Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a real photograph. It was a painting or a drawing. But this smoking hot naked chick wrapped around this giant snake. You know, how can a 15-year-old teenage boy not be crazy about that one.
Yeah, the snake was going right between her legs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember it well.
The visuals tell themselves. It's the kind of stuff that now is almost kind of, it's almost, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of ironic to do it now, but back then that's what it was. That was the scene. That was they were doing it seriously, which is great.
The funny thing was, I was looking the other day, not that I cheated, but I was looking at some of the good and bad album covers, what people think are good and bad on the internet.
Well, that's cheating. That's cheating.
I know it was. I was sort of trying to give myself a reminder. And that Whitesnake one that you mentioned, which is a brilliant cover, by the way, Mark, is known as one of the worst covers, voted for one of the worst covers. How ridiculous. Is that just...
Women must have made the vote.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I was
going to ask, who's voting?
Well, that's today's society, probably. Today, that's what they say. It's bad, but back then, obviously, it was good.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. 1984 this time, and an album that you've reviewed, Lee, on your channel, which I enjoyed. Metallica, Ride the Lightning.
Oh yeah.
And it's iconic, and it's Metallica's best album cover for me. You guys will probably say three other ones that are better, but I think it's their best because it's got their name, the iconic font, that Metallica font up at the top, in kind of this, lit up in blue, and then it has the lightning coming down off it, and then it's got this electric chair just sitting there in the middle of the sleeve, right there. I don't know if they actually did, but I bet there was the temptation to put somebody sitting in that chair. And then they went, no, just the chair, because I just think it's such a visceral looking cover. It's you look at it and you go, heavy metal.
I think the choice, you look at it and you go, I think the choice, like you said, to have no one in it was a brilliant choice.
Great choice. And now I don't know. I don't know if they do you know? Yeah. Did they originally have someone sitting in it?
I don't know, but if I don't think they ever have. But if they ever thought about it, they made the right choice. They
made the right choice. I was thinking that when I was looking, because I'm sure you guys don't. You just looked at the covers today, and I was like zooming in on all of them, and I was there. If there was somebody sitting on that, it wouldn't be as good.
No, you're totally right. It's a great cover, man. Absolutely brilliant. Well,
do you remember the original title of that album that they intended? They were originally going to call that album "Metal Up Your Ass."
That's right. Yeah.
Was it? I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, they had a toilet, didn't they? With
you still see it on T-shirts every now and again. It was a toilet with I don't remember if it was a knife or a sword coming up out of the toilet, and that was their original concept. But the record company said, no, we're not doing that. So.
Did you mention that in your review, Lee? That's the first time I heard. No, I didn't. I know about it, but I didn't mention it. Yeah, but that's a well-known thing. Yeah, good spot that. Excellent. Well, I've got Metallica on my list, but I've got this one on the list, Master of Puppets. So I was thinking about Ride the Lightning, to tell you the truth. It's they're both brilliant. But I think Master of Puppets, the graveyard, the soldier's helmet hanging off the thing. I suppose the hands at the top are portraying like soldiers used as puppets in war, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even though I think the song itself was more about drugs as well, I think.
Yeah.
So, I know it's two different things, but just the colours, man, they used, and like the blue like you said, the Ride the Lightning, the blues and that are using this, and the oranges they used in the Master of Puppets, man. Just a brilliant cover. And I've got a bad one as well for Metallica. They had some bad ones as well.
Agreed.
But the bad one is Load.
Yeah.
So, it's bad enough anyway, this cover. When you actually look at it, it's just shit. But when you realise that it's blood and sperm that was used to make it, that's when you realise how bad it really is. So apparently some arty-farty fucking artist put blood and sperm together.
Yeah, but it's called Load.
Under a microscope, and that's what they used.
God.
Apparently it was a bit of a joke, an inline joke as well, because at the time I think Lars Ulrich and Kirk Hammett. They said that they was gay. There was a rumor going around that was gay, so they thought they'd put sperm on the cover. That's nice, isn't it?
I didn't know any of that. All right.
Yeah. So there you go. So my good one is Master of Puppets. My bad one is Load. There you go.
Yeah, follow that, Mark.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to pick Master of Puppets, but since he ruled that one out, I got to move on.
Sorry.
Let's see here. Let's go with Striper. Goddamn Evil.
Yeah, it's a good cover, man.
All the covers they've done recently are done by the same artist, and they're very similar as far as the artwork. But this is a figure of God that looks like mostly what you see Zeus, how you see Zeus depicted. Nobody really knows, obviously, what God looks like, but in your mind, at least, that's kind of the image you conjure up when you think of, the Almighty. And he's just storming through this city with a big staff, jamming it into the ground, and there's explosions, and basically he's destroying everything that's evil. Fits in perfectly with the title.
Just to let you know, Darren, the very controversial, this album. I mean,
Yeah.
Striper lost a lot of fans over just calling the album Goddamn Evil.
Yeah, no, look, I've watched a lot of your material, Lee. I know that. I've heard. I didn't know, obviously, a lot before Striper for seeing your channel, but I've heard a bit of that.
I mean, they lost fans over it, where they just said it was blasphemy to say "goddamn."
Yeah.
You know,
Mark, is there, the way they say a little bit of separate the man from the music a little bit, I mean, there's an awful lot of that goes on. It goes on with Michael Jackson and for all sorts of reasons. But is there not an element a little bit within the Striper community that they can separate the music from the ideology a little bit? Does that not happen at all? Or
Well, I mean, Lee is a perfect example. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, but you're an atheist.
Yeah.
And Striper is
exactly, he's not a believer. I mean, if you're a believer, if you're in the community, if you're a Christian.
Yeah, I know the difference. There's a lot of different Christians that can say, yeah, it's fine, and there's some that don't.
Right.
There's still people. I mean, I vividly remember the first time I went to see Striper. They played in town here in June of 1987, and I went to see them. And there were church groups congregated out in front of the building protesting the shut it. And they're holding up signs, repent or or you're going to hell for listening to this band or this kind of shit. And for the most part, they had no idea what Striper was about. They saw the way they were dressed. They might have heard a piece of a guitar or something, and people back then just had it in your mind that you could not play this type of music and be a Christian. And there's still people to this day that feel that way. I mean, I think it's ridiculous, but whether you love them or hate them, you gotta admire them for sticking to their guns all these years. They could have been a lot bigger band if they had gone the secular route and sang about the stuff that Motley Crue and Poison and some of the others did. Because I'm gonna be perfectly honest, musically, I think they're head and shoulders above 90% of the bands that became huge.
You mean out of that Sunset Strip scene?
Yeah.
Even now, they're brilliant. I mean, some of the things I see said against them, man, they're terrible. I mean, someone put a message. I mentioned this to one of you guys. I can't remember who it was. Put a message under the Michael Sweet interview that I did with him, and it was basically from a Christian saying Michael Sweet should burn in hell for what he's done. And because on the interview, I think he said that he occasionally drops an F-bomb. He said to me, he's like his own man now. He's a Christian and he sings about God, but he might drop an F-bomb. He might enjoy a cigar now and again, or a whiskey or whatever. And someone put under the video, they want him to burn in hell. And I had to say, look, no, there's no need for all that shit. Do you know what I mean? Just
and stuff like
but then you've got it's.
I was just going to say stuff
Sorry,
like that is a prime example of why I understand some people don't want anything to do with religion. Because if that's the way, that some people want you to believe you have to be that strict in your thinking and your action. I don't blame anybody for saying I don't want any part of that, but I believe God knows we're human. We have faults, and if the worst thing you ever do is drop an F-bomb or drink a brandy, you're doing pretty damn good as far as I'm
concerned. Anyway.
Here, mate. Yeah, well said.
Good choice, though, mate. It's got us talking about something really good as well. Go on.
Before I get away from it, I just want to mention my least favorite Striper album cover is Reborn. Yeah. All the members are covered in what looks like slime.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, it just didn't really do anything for me. There was an alternate cover that I think they should have used, and it was the hands of God reaching out. That was the original artwork, or maybe it was an alternative artwork for a different area or something. I don't remember, but that was a much better cover than what they actually went with.
And the colors as well were awful. It was like a luminous yellow, green. Yeah, fucking really weird.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah. The new one's good. He's brought out Reborn. Michael Sweet's brought out the album again as a solo album. The new artwork is just fantastic.
Yeah,
it's just
a lot better.
Yeah. Okay, I've lost track of whose turn it is because we got onto a really serious talk there.
Well, don't worry. I'll drag us back down into the mud. Right, I'm going back to the 70s, and I'm going with a band I really enjoy. I think Mark enjoys them as well. I'm going with Cheap Trick, and I'm going with their band In Colour from 1977. I love a bit of Cheap Trick, man. I mean, this album cover is both comical and cool at the same time, right? So you've got the lead singer, Robin Zander, and their bassist, Tom Peterson, on motorbikes on the front of the cover. But when you flip it around to the back, now I don't know if you're going to be able to do this in post-production here, Lee, but when you flip it around to the back, it has the drummer, Bunny Carlos, and their lead guitarist, the great Rick Nielsen. It's upside down, but they're on mopeds. So, the front is cool motorbikes and the back is mopeds. I love that. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. So, I went with that one because I just love how it's poking fun at itself, but by the front cover, you think it's just quite a cool cover,
Excellent, mate. Excellent choice. That's cool. So I'm going with another new one. So Joel Hoekstra's 13 new album, which is Running Games. Now, as far as detail is concerned, this isn't one of them painted covers or anything like that, but there's something about it, and it's really bright, and it's really I don't know why, but it just makes the music even more fun to listen to. It's really a fun cover. It's got it's a sort of a bridge in the background, like a huge bridge, and there's volcano, and there's bridges. The bridge is sort of it's collapsing. There's people running, but it's the colours. They're all orange, and I don't mean to name drop here, but when I interviewed him the other week, he said that it was originally going to be blue, or blues. He said that in the end they decided go with real oranges and real bright colours. And for some reason, when I'm listening to the album, it just brings out the music even brighter than what it is. It's just really clever. I just think it's so clever, the album cover. Even though anyone looked at it, they wouldn't think, oh, that's an amazing cover. But when you see it, you'll know what I mean. It really is a cool cover.
Mark, Lee's just picking this because he's best friends now with Joel Hoekstra. He thinks he's, Lee thinks he's great now. You've changed, Lee. Now that you've hit the big time with your 1,000 subscribers and your Joel Hoekstra interviews, you think you're the big cheese in town now.
Listen, man, I wouldn't say if it was a shit cover, honestly. It's a really clever cover. I don't know why it's so clever because it ain't.
Oh, I love you, Joel Hoekstra. You're the bestest ever.
Next. Who's next? By the way, there ain't a bad Joel Hoekstra covers. They're all brilliant. They're the best covers I've ever known.
Do you hear that, Joel? Give him another interview.
Thanks for that, Darren. Revenge has been sought. I love it. I absolutely love it. Right. Okay. Whose turn is it anyway?
Mark.
I'm going to cheat. You can chastise me after this, but I've got to show this. Kiss Alive.
Oh yes!
And
Brilliant.
I'm showing you this for two reasons. This is the very first album I ever bought. 1976, 77, whatever year it came out, I don't remember. But just that photo, they have the small photos on the back. I mean, on the front, on the back, they got the enlarged photos. But to this day, when I think of Kiss, these are the photos that immediately pop into my mind. That picture of Gene drenched in blood and sweat, and also the picture of Ace with that orange aura around him. They're ingrained in my mind. But we were talking about the double albums earlier. When you open that album up and you see that stage, I mean, it's just all that fire. I mean, this is something I just can't describe. So I've got to show it to you.
Yeah.
But
That is stunning.
that and the colors of the logo. I mean, that's the logo they've always had, but just the colors in that logo, just everything about this album to me. I mean, this album is the reason that I'm here with you guys today. If I had never bought this album when I was 8 years old or 7 years old, whatever it was, I wouldn't, this is what started it all for me as far as hard rock, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it.
That's not an original, is it? That's not the one you bought when you were 8.
This is the one, yeah.
It looks really clean. It couldn't be.
He's a freak of nature, isn't he, Darren?
Sorry, what did you keep it in plastic for years? I mean, it's amazing.
Isn't he? He's a freak of nature, isn't he, Darren? Isn't he?
Lee, I bought, you remind me sometimes of my colleague, Neil. Lee, I've bought albums in the last 2 months that are in worse nick than that.
I know.
Well, keep in mind, this hadn't been played in probably 30 years. I started buying cassettes in the very early 80s, and I don't think I've had a record player that works in at least 25 years. So they've been in. It
looks brand new. It looks brand new.
Another thing to wind Darren up. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, Darren, you're up. Can you beat that?
No, I can't, because that album is stunning, and the first ever Kiss T-shirt I got was that cover. That was the first ever T-shirt I got from Kiss. Which,
you know what? That's so cool. That's what's so cool about doing this show, actually, and it's probably one of the funnest shows I've done because of how we see covers. I mean, even hearing Mark talk about it makes me absolutely love that cover, and it's just mad, isn't it? What art and a cover does for you, personally.
And them little Polaroids down the bottom of it are just fantastic.
I literally feel like I'm 8 years old again every time I look at this. I can just remember sitting in my room just staring at that, for probably 10 minutes without even blinking.
I know what you mean. The love of it, yeah.
Next month, and I still look at it the same as I did when I was 8 years old.
No, I fully get it.
I'm glad you got the cover out, because that was amazing. Well done, mate.
I just had to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to stay with 1977, and I'm going to go with a genre of music that I don't think any of us are big into, but I do like a certain degree of it, and that is 8 words. Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
And I'm not big into that scene overall, but I think that's a great album. Everything about that at that point as well, like you were taking the piss out of my shirt earlier. I like the fashion element of it as well. I like everything that kind of went with that when punk was at its purest, when it was it was the Sex Pistols. And this album and this cover is the pinnacle of that of that era. The LP has no visuals, nothing of the band. You don't see any, you don't see Vicious or Rotten or Paul Cook or Steve Jones or any of them. It's just that iconic, legendary kind of yellow background with the band's name framed by kind of a pink frame around it, and it's just such a cool album cover for such a cool time in music, or them being the cool element of what they wear at that particular point. So I've gone with that one.
Iconic, man. What a great cover to choose. Yeah, I love that cover, man. It's brilliant. Okay, I'm going for a bit of thrash metal now. So, Anthrax. So, Spreading the Disease, 1985. An excellent bit of artwork which looks like a metal fan. I don't think he's a band member. Some sort of metal fan. He's got jeans on, and he's being strapped to this like bed, this like hospital bed, and there's like hazmat people with hazmat suits on around him. He's obviously got some sort of disease, but it's a brilliant cover, man. It's like loaded. It feels really alive, like something's really going on. Do you know what I mean? That's my favorite cover from them. But then they made one of the worst album covers in history the year before in Fistful of Metal. So, oh man.
Yeah.
It's like they said they gave a pen and paper to some fucking 6-year-old and said, right, we want a face being punched. And it don't even look like the face is being punched. It's actually that bad. It looks like a fist is coming out of the mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
And it ain't until you see there's a hand at the top holding the hair and apparently being punched, but it's coming and the face is all wonky and oh man, it's a terrible cover. Fistful of Metal, but Spreading Disease made up for it the following year, just the following year, and the music improved about 120% as well. So that's my.
Is it just the style of the art you don't like though? Because when you were a kid and you'd watch cartoons.
No.
And you might like the Turtles one year, but not like them the next time because they're drawn differently. Like, is it more just kind of?
No, I think it was one of their mates who really tried. He tried. That's the thing. It ain't like it was a joke. He tried to do a cool cover. Definitely tried.
Right.
But it failed miserably.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay.
They probably didn't have much of a budget for artwork on that first album.
No, definitely not. But. Who's next? Mark, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick one that Darren might like this one, because this is not a band that musically I care anything about, but it's an awesome album cover. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell.
Yeah, it's a good cover.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a cover. You look at it and you would swear that was a heavy metal album.
Oh yeah.
You would. You're right.
Know who Meatloaf was, you'd swear it was a metal album. But it's got the motorcycle coming up out of the cemetery with this huge gothic bat coming, in the background. Bad Out of Hell. It's just it's a classic cover, and I wish I liked the music within as much as I like the cover.
Yeah, I'm the same with you there.
It's rock opera, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of I think Rock and Roll Dreams Come True, which isn't from that album from the 90s, is a great song. I like a little bit of Meatloaf, but I'm a bit hit and miss on that.
It's a great choice for a cover though, man, which obviously we're talking about. It's a
top choice for a cover, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Remember, some of this isn't necessarily even about the music inside.
Oh,
It's about the artwork, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Right, I'm going to 1984. I'm going with one of my favorite bands. I'm going Huey Lewis and the News, and I'm going with their album Sports, which was a iconic album for Huey Lewis and the News. Probably not really up your street, but I think the album is quite cool. They're Huey Lewis and the News, and they've called the album Sports. I love that they're doing the sports. I love that concept. The surroundings around them. So you've I don't know if you guys can imagine it right now, but it's got Huey looking quite casual at the front. He's got the jacket draped over him, and then surrounding him, they're in a bar. There's the pool table. There's baseball on the TV. There's a toilet seat. There's a guitar toilet seat cover up on the wall. And the band just kind of casually sitting behind Huey on bar stools, just smiling away with a beer in their hand or whatever. I think they might have a beer, but I just love the concept of being Huey Lewis in the News. It's called Sports, and they're in a bar, and I just think it's a cool little concept, and the album done really well for them as well. So
it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes bands can get band shots on album covers that look good, but sometimes they can fail miserably, can't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of a dodgy one, isn't it, when you put the actual band on a cover? but it can turn out excellent and really good, or it can turn out the worst thing ever, especially with fashion the way it is, and it changes all the time. It's been seen some bad covers of bands like dressed like so weird.
Yeah, but it comes back around, Lee. Fashion always comes back around, so it doesn't really matter, you know.
That's true. I've never been fashionable, so I'm all right. I'll never. Okay. We can't do album covers without mentioning Iron Maiden. We just can't. So I could have chosen so many, but I chose the one, I suppose, that I spent the most time looking at as a kid, and that's Power Slave. So it was when he did his turn as the Egyptian mummy, if you like. Yeah. Just an amazing cover, man. Just so much detail. Derek Riggs, I think it was back then, for the first few albums, doing the artwork. And I was really torn between this one and another one. I'll save the other one just in case I use it for a future episode or something. But it's just amazing. And then on the other side of the cover, you had like in the other side of the temple, like there's an Eddie sitting there as a pharaoh, but then you saw inside from the other side. Just an amazing cover. But I have got a bad one for them. There's one that people always perceive as the bad one, and that's Dance of Death. But I don't actually think that's that bad. So I've chosen the X Factor, which is where they had a change of vocalist. The artwork changed completely. It was like almost a model instead of a painting. Yeah. Like a model of Eddie having a lobotomy, basically. Yeah. And I thought, what the fuck is that? Where's the artwork gone from Maiden? You know, that was what it was all about, the artwork. And I just thought it was the most terrible cover ever out of all of them. Just ridiculous.
I do love that mascot though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's my I've got two more choices, guys, just to let you know.
I've won. I'm on to my last one. I only have one left.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I just want to mention I love the X Factor as far as the album, but yeah, I agree that cover it almost looks like a puppet.
Yeah.
Not in keeping with the tradition of what they were known for. Yeah.
Definitely not. Okay.
All right. I think next I'm going to go with Rainbow Rising. That iconic fist coming out of the sky over the mountains, grasping this beautiful rainbow.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant cover.
In the mountains. I kind of hate that rainbows have been hijacked by a certain movement over the last few years, but I love that. Love that cover.
Yeah, it's a absolutely brilliant cover, that, mate. Love that. One of the first amazing covers. One of the first amazing metal covers.
What year was that?
Is it 70?
Glasses on. It's mid 70s.
76 or something. Yeah.
More along in there.
Amazing cover. Okay.
Right, I'm on my last one. 1986. Mentioned this band already in our ballad series, so I left this one to the last. And you know what, Lee? You actually impressed me, right? Here's where I knew that you weren't full of shit, right? When I mentioned this to you, you knew the album cover, and I was there. Oh, fucking hell! He knows it. He knows the stuff.
Oh, I think what this is. Oh yeah.
Vigilante, the Vigilante album, and I mentioned this to you, and you knew it. I was there. That's pretty impressive. You knew your stuff, like, which is good for a guy who runs a rock and metal channel. But yeah, it's a fantasy kind of design. It's very trippy. It has a unicorn kind of rearing on its hind legs with a pointed rock in front of it. The pointed rock doesn't sound that interesting, but when it all comes together, it looks great. And it has behind the unicorn, there's the night skyline and a whirling galaxy in the background. And it's just very out there, very trippy. But again, the colors, the blues, the pinks, the black, it just when it's all put together, it's like one of these things you just throw paint at a wall and sometimes it sticks, and this is kind of the, a variant of that. That's what you'd imagine. Very, very trippy, very cool.
It's a great choice, man. I love that cover. Okay, my second to last one. Now, this band have brought out some really controversial covers. So I've got a good one and a bad one for this. This actual good one sometimes is known as a bad one, but I love it. I might love it because of my teenage years, but it's Love Drive. Now, this one has got a guy in the back of a taxi with a girl, and he's basically got chewing gum stuck to her tit, and he's holding it in his hand, and it's stuck like a massive bit of chewing gum on her tit. Like it's got one tit out and a blouse covering one. But I don't know why I love it so much. I love it so the haters can go and do one because I love it. And then on the reverse, if you're really like when you're a teenage boy, she's got them both out without any chewing gum. So that's my that's my good album cover. My bad one is a really bad mistake, which I won't even be able to put up on the screen actually. And that's that's Virgin Killer. And it literally had another girl in it, but they shouldn't have had her on the cover. But there you go. Right. I'll let your imagination know what that one means. But it was called Virgin Killer, and I think they've changed the cover. The cover is basically, one of the worst covers. What they think of back in the 70s is just, what they think is all right. It's just...
it's like anything of these sensibilities of a different time,
Yeah, but... Man, I
don't know the cover. I don't know the cover. So
it hasn't been good for a long time, that one.
Right. I don't know the cover. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So Virgin Killer is I won't put it up on the screen because it's easy to offend.
It was banned for good reason.
Yeah, banned. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, Mark, have you got another one?
Yeah, I can throw out another one here. This is a recent one. The first album by the Ferrymen, Ronnie Romero, Magnus Carlson, and Mike Piranha on drums a couple of years ago. Cool photo of a ferryman poling this crude-looking boat across the river with a skeleton in the back of it. The ferryman or the ferryman is the mythological boatman that takes you from this life to the next. Just a very, very cool photo. Dark sky in the background. I really gravitate toward that kind of fantasy, dark imagery anyway. And that's just a very well done cover.
He's a great one, man.
Cool.
There's some really cool covers come out lately, on these albums. And I think, like you said,
album as well. It's a good album as well, yeah.
Definitely. Okay,
we said it before, Lee. We said it before. I think that Frontiers with the Sunstorm project have some great album covers.
Yeah, they do.
Lately.
They do.
Definitely. If you're talking the last 10 years, whatever. Yeah.
My last one is Van Halen. So,
which one?
The good one I'm going for, because there's a good and a bad, is 1984.
All right, cool.
So, I suppose now people look at it a little bit, and a baby with a cigarette, and they're sort of leaning on looks like a bard, and it like that with the cigarette and that. I just think it was a great cover, great drawing, painting. But the bad cover I'm going for is Diver Down. I just think... for me, it's the worst.
What's that one again? I can't picture that one.
It's just the red cover with the white stripe going across the diagram.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you, yeah.
It just summed up the music, really. It's like they couldn't be really asked with that album. And they couldn't be asked with the artwork either. It's like the worst Roth album with the worst artwork. It's just... Was
that the Roth album just before 84?
Yeah, 1983.
It was.
So it's the one
It
had all the I know we're not talking about music, but it was like I said, it's like they couldn't be asked. It had a load of cover versions on it, Dancing in the Street, one of them, and Pretty Woman, and then they just make a red cover with a white stripe going through, just thinking like, let's just bung this out. I can't be asked. That's what it felt like anyway.
Piss poor.
Definitely. Okay, I'm done.
I thought about this when we did that Heaven and Hell video, Lee. Do you think that album cover, the 1984, do you think it took any inspiration from Heaven and Hell?
Yeah.
They're not the same, but Heaven and Hell, you've got angels sitting around smoking cigarettes, playing cards, which was a bit controversial. And then just a few years later, Van Halen comes out with a baby angel
Mm.
reaching for a pack of cigarettes.
Mm.
I don't know if they had any connection at all, but
Yeah.
I wonder if there was any inspiration there.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that for sure. I mean, Heaven and Hell was probably another one that I could have easily chosen for this series, you know,
Yeah.
for this program. All right then, guys. So that's my last one. You right for doing another show if need be?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
And I think
that's if we're allowed back on now that you're hanging around with the stars, Lee.
Look, it was a good cover, all right. Before I spoke to him, I thought it was a good cover, I swear. All right.
All right, fair. Joel Hogstrom, Michael Sweet, you know, he's hanging around with the ball, Mark. You know, it's only a matter of time before he forces us off the channel.
He can call us back when he wants to hobnob with the peasants again. There,
exactly. He wants to get a sense of hanging around with the real people. You know, the commoners.
Hold on a minute, bye. He's finished with your top. I love it. I fucking love it.
Brilliant.
All right, cheers, guys. In the comments below, obviously, anyone can think of decent covers. Put them in the comments below. Or what did you think of our choices? That'd be even funnier. You know, what did you think of Darren's top? That's another one. All right.
Listen, it could have been worse. I could have been just wearing that, right?
No, I prefer that. Listen, I've got no reason, no way of even talking about fashion, mate. I'm the worst, honestly. I've had a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on for the last 15 years. So there you go. All right.
All you have to do is do what I do. Just Google what Joe Elliott was wearing in '87 and go with that.
All right. Thanks, guys. Cheers for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure as normal. I'll see you later.
All right.